Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Andrea, and here's her story. Dear Ollie, I feel my story might help others, and I would very much like your opinion on my mother as I'm struggling. I've been no contact for 9 months. Since no contact is like the doors in my brain have flung open and the memories and all the blank spaces have come flooding back. It's like I'm reliving my childhood life all over again, but this time Mother Dearest is there. All my life, she has gaslighted me and told me what to do, what to say, what to feel, what to wear, what to eat, when to sleep. That abuse was an abuse, and I make it out to be much, and that the abuse was an abuse, and I make too much out of everything. What's up with your face? Why are you so miserable? You. It was relentless. I watched what I said and danced around on eggshells and forever in a state of utter fear. Here's my story. Mom is a passive aggressive schoolgirl that is in denial, that is an in denial alcoholic. Dad is pure evil, perverted psychopath. Together they tortured us, me and my sister who was 2 years younger than me. Dad degraded me sexually. He'd make me have baths with him and watch him shave and pull his dick in and say, look, I'm a woman like you. I can't tell you, Ollie, how fucking weird he was. He'd play with my head daily, telling me that he was going to murder my mom and hurt her. She got ill once, really ill. He told me that if he gave her water, she'd die and not to tell anyone or I'd be responsible for her death. He beat her and would throw furniture around. He was vile. He always lived. He'd always have a sexual innuendo. He'd walk around in a dressing gown with a hole so his dick was permanently showing. He'd make me sit on his knee and read, and I hated it as I felt him through the hole. He and Mother would go on holidays and leave us with his parents, who were also despicable. They'd force me and my sister tripe. Oh, I'm sorry. They force feed me and my sister tripe. I'd eat my sister. I have to ask everybody, if you're going to type something on an iPad, you have to make sure the spacing between the punctuation between the sentences is accurate, because there's no spacing on this. I'd eat my sister's so she wouldn't have to. I don't know if you know what tripe is. Yeah, I know what tripe is. It's intestines. It's disgusting. It's disgusting, slimy fat off a cow, and they put it in dog food. We'd have to eat it boiled. I'd throw up in my mouth and swallow it back down, or I'd have another portion. It was followed by bread and butter and tinned peaches. Fucking weird. We'd be sat there sometimes for hours on end till the plates were clean. Grandma would take me to the bathroom with her and make me look at her used sanitary towels and her pubic hair, telling me I'd have all of this one day. She was in love with her sons. I knew it at 7. She'd sit with my dad between her legs, rubbing his hair like they were married. Ugh. My dad loathed his dad and never spoke. My granddad never spoke to anybody. He was silent all the time. I dread to think why. They were sick fuckers, the whole family. I hated Mom for leaving us there with them. My mother has always told me how much she hated my dad and his family. Yet we were left alone with them. One day we got up and we never see Dad again. We were at the train station in Cornwall. Never allowed to mention Dad again. Dad was a real sick fucker. I found him dressed in women's clothes. He danced for me when no one was around, and then in the next breath he'd turn and tell me I was evil and bad and how disgusting I was by showing my vagina to him. He even told my mom to have a word. I was laying in my nightie and it had risen up. He had come in to say night and went fucking mental. I was 9. There was so much, but but I think you have an idea of mom and dad. They played mind games all the time, me being the pawn. In Cornwall, we were thrown into a house with my uncle and 2 cousins. This is when life went from fucking awful to diabolical chaos. Mom was introduced to a man called Pete, who my uncle said she'd be perfect for. He nicknamed himself PJ. I hated him. He was the worst human being you can think of. He was a cocaine freak, alcoholic, manic that was into motorbikes and believed he was the reincarnation of Jimi Hendrix. Why do they do that? Druggies believe they are wizards and warlocks and dead people. He was a warlock that could put curses on people. What a fucking twat. Even at 11 years old, I thought he was a complete tosser. He hated me on sight. The first night in Cornwall, traumatized, tired and scared. My mom was out with him getting drunk and partying. Days and weeks went by, and we never saw my mom or uncle. They were on the piss 24/7. They were raging alcoholics and totally abandoned us. We had no one. We'd fight as kids. It was like Lord of the Flies. I'd steal food from plates at school so we could eat. We'd be left daily a loaf of bread and jar of jam, but nothing else. We had no clothes. We wore out our school uniforms every day. We had absolutely nothing. We were totally neglected. We stank. I was made the black sheep by my cousins and my uncle and mom. I came down one day to find a woman on our sofa with a needle hanging out of her arm. I was staring at her, and my uncle told me to get out of there. There was no heating, hot water, food, clothes, nothing, no guidance, no adults. When Pete and Mom ever had a rare night at the house, it was drinking all night long. I'd go down and ask them to be quiet and cry, begging Mom to come and sleep with me. I wanted my mom. Pete would grab me around my neck, screaming in my face. Well, look here, darling. Boo-hoo, fucking boo-hoo. You want mommy, you fucking spoiled little brat. Mommy's having a good time. Who do you think you are? Fuck off, brat. I'm gonna fuck your mother now. Fuck off. And from that day forward, I was the brat. My name was never used. I was brat because I was always fighting back. I despised him. We came down one Christmas morning and they'd forgotten to buy us anything. They'd gone to the 99p shop. I guess that's the dollar store. The 99p shop the night before and bought us a small pile of shit that wasn't wrapped. I got a pair of gardening gloves, a key ring, and a pair of men's socks. I'm sure my cousins and sister got that shit as well. Pete was behind me saying, "You ungrateful little brat. Look at her fucking face. She's crying again." It was awful. We had no dinner, but we had to share what was there with half the pub Mom and Pete had brought back. And all their no-brain friends to party and eat our Christmas dinner. I went to bed. No one knew I'd be gone. We had police around all the time. They broke the coin meter and stole all the money. The old types, you put your money in the slot and you get your electric. I saw it on Mom's bed, but she told me I didn't see it. I told her I did. I was gaslighted my whole life. What I witnessed, what we went through, everything was turned to make my mother unresponsible for every part she played. To make a bad situation worse, Pete came in and started boxing up all our stuff. We were moving back to his place. Fuck. Life just got unbearable. I was 13 and my sister 11. Mom said it would be brilliant if Pete lived on a farm and we would be able to play, blah, blah. I thought maybe it would be better away from my uncle and cousins who beat me up all the time and pretty much picked on me relentlessly. I was made to work at a cafe in town, washing up at 11, just me, no one else. Hated doing it. I'd do 5-hour shifts and my cousin stole my wages. I got $1.25 an hour and was paid daily and was completely gone and was completely alone. My cousin would wait outside for me for my money. He was stronger than me and I couldn't fight him off. I hated these people. Why did I have to work and no one else? Just me and the bastards. We moved to Pete's and it was in the middle of nowhere. It's a mile walk down a country lane to catch the school bus to Newquay. It's dangerous as there's no pavement and the mile-long road was notorious for deaths. It was just stupid to walk it. But yes, we had to do it twice a day with holes in our shoes, no coats, nothing. We had nothing. My big toe was through my charity shop crappy shoes anyway. I had to cut off and wrap carrier bags around my feet before I got to school. I wrapped bin liner around my body and made a carrier bag hat to stay dry. It was grueling. Pete's place was not the farmhouse we were told, but a one-bedroom caravan at the back of the farm. He and mother lived in that. Lucky them. Me and my sister were presented with a tiny 4-berth caravan 20 yards from theirs. It was disgusting. It was a box. It was 5 feet by 5 feet. It had tiny bunks and 2 sofas. You couldn't both stand up together. There was no room. One of us had to get dressed while the other sat on the sofa. We had no water or toilet. We had no pens, paper, toys, nothing. We had to walk 30 feet to go into Mom and Pete's caravan to go to the toilet or use the sink. The shower was 50 yards down the lane. It was outside, so you can imagine how cold and disgusting it was. Again, abandoned. They'd go out nightly and party. We pissed outside as we were too frightened to go into Pete's caravan, as there were always assholes in there. Mom would drink and play games with them. She'd hide in our caravan from Pete as he'd lose it all the time, and she wanted to teach him a lesson. She'd hide for days. He'd try to break in, shed sometimes, hide in the lane. You guys got to, I'm sorry, you guys got to proofread these. Again, you cannot use the speak to text without proofreading, because I can always tell when it's speak to text. And some of you are just insistent on doing it to me. And I'm not deleting it because you guys got it. He'd be screaming and drag his speakers outside and full bottle with his bottle of Jack Daniels in his hands, screaming spells and talking to the devil. We were trapped in a living hell. Mom would go back and they left us once for nearly a month. Just fucking left us. This broke me. That was my breaking point. My head went and I started starving myself. Not that we ate properly anyway. I'd also started self-harming to numb the anger. We were raided by the police monthly and had few teddies I had were ripped to pieces, and the few teddies I had were ripped to pieces. The police hated them. We have dawn raids before school. Obviously, well, if they were constantly raiding the place, was anybody ever arrested? Obviously, I was a weird kid at school all alone. I never knew why we weren't ever taken away. I'd pray we were taken into care. I hated Pete so much. As I got older, I was given a violin. I learned it and got really good. Moved out, got a bed sit, and played in bands. I was 15 or 16. Pete decided I was brilliant and took me to a biker do. I didn't want to go, but Mom insisted. Pete had been trying to snog me the older I got, and I would smack my ass, saying I was a chip off the old block, and I did what I was told. Mom had a bed sit next to mine. I moved. She moved. She started following me everywhere. I got attacked at this party. I played and said to Pete, I want to go home. He said, we're just getting started. He put acid in the drinks and everybody went mental. I was grabbed around the throat and pinned to the floor. I was going to be raped, but Pete stopped it. I think he did it because he wouldn't have wanted to go to prison. It wasn't he had a conscience, he covered his ass knowing I tell. I hid in the footwell of his van for 9 hours. I was in my own piss, terrified. Pete gets in the van and drives me home and gives me a Mars bar and says there was nothing was meant. Stop crying, Bratty. He and my mother also petrol bombed a gay bar and planned for months. They didn't want fags in their town. Their mentality was my dad might go there. Ha ha. He lived 300 miles away. The fucking idiots. They could have killed someone. They got away with it as Pete was dealing cocaine to half the police in Perranporth. My mom, but I thought the police were raiding them every week. It doesn't make any sense. If you're saying you're being raided every week, but they're dealing coke to half the... My mom had made me write to my dad asking me for money. After everything, I had to write how much I was in trouble and needed my daddy, and he'd send me money, of which Mom and Pete would take. There's so much to tell, but I'm going to stop here as there's enough here, and I'm sure you get the idea of what my upbringing was like. Today, 2017, I've been no contact with my mother for 9 months and my family. I hate them. I have 2 daughters from 2 different narcs. My 13-year-old from a man that was forced onto me by Pete. My mistake. The second man I was with, violent asshole, but I have a beautiful 8-year-old also. To cut a long story short, my mother has tried to turn them against me. I married the nicest man you could ever wish to meet, who is my best friend and has taken my children as his own. We have been married for 3 years and together 5. My mom followed me to my home now. She has been on her own for 15 years, despises men as a bitter old woman. I, 39, she is 63. She is dry, but still acts like an alcoholic. She has insidiously worked on my kids to hate their stepdad. She has been behaving like a spoiled child since I met my husband. I've always stupidly, genuinely believed if I could fix my mom, then it'd be okay. There's no fixing this. But it hasn't happened. She's awful, and you still feel the terror when I think of her. She's a typical narc triangulation. She is a fat pig. Thought I had my sister's backing, but she basically asked me to carry on as normal, although she knows. After watching and healing from your videos, it all makes sense now. My sister is a precious. My mom is a narc, and it's not me. I've managed to turn my daughter around with the help of my husband. My mom lives in the same town as me, but avoids me like the plague. I haven't seen her, but I am now moving from my home. What me and my husband have worked our asses off for. Kids are happy. Fuck her. I'm mad with myself as I'm terrified of seeing her. I can't shake off the gut-wrenching fear of what I'll get. She blames me for everything. Ha ha. I was hard-word and kept fucking up my life. It's hard work and kept fucking up my life. What a joke. I am so happy to have normality. I have to work with every fiber of my being to heal, and I've done it as a single mother and met my beautiful husband. I will write again, Ollie. If my story can help someone, then read it. I'd be very honored if you would give me the time of your opinion on why I can't look at my mother and want to be sick. But at the same time, I hate myself for it. I feel abandoned. I feel I've abandoned her, as it's always my job to look after her. I've just answered my own question. I've always taken the role of mom to her and feel I've abandoned her. That's sick. I hate her, Ollie. But again, I feel awful for writing that, and I hate myself for that, as I know how awful she is. Thank God for you, Mr. Matthews. You are a tough survivor. I admire your strength and fearlessness You are an angel, and I wish you and Charlene all the love and happiness you deserve. Thank you to the people like you. I am still here fighting the fight, and another cycle of this insidious shit has been stopped. I hope I have worded this better, as I do have problems writing. I'm sorry again. Thank you for letting me know my first letter was illegible. My spelling isn't great. Apologize, Andrea. All right. Well, don't worry about it. It's not your right. It's the iPad. It's the speak to text. You're using speak to text. I know you're using speak to text. I can see it. And people think they can beat the speak to text. And no. If you don't say space between the punctuation and the sentence, and it all runs on, and it makes it impossible to read. You cannot use speak to text without proofreading, because it doesn't understand certain words. It misspells words. It doesn't put in punctuation. It makes it very, very difficult. But like you said at the end of this, look, these are disgusting, awful people. But I don't understand with all the raids and how you were kept there. If the police are raiding your house every week, but he's dealing coke to half the police, that just doesn't make any sense. But the reason you feel guilty is because you were always set to be responsible for the entire family's happiness. Set forth by, showed by, as they take your money from your job waiting for you, as if you're there responsible. So that's why you got carryover. Because you've been treated as if you've been responsible for them your entire life. So that's why you have guilt when you go no contact somehow from somebody who allows you to be raped and assaulted and starved and live the life you live. You still feel guilty. Why? Why? Because they set you at the beginning to make you feel responsible for them. They burn that into you're responsible for them, and they burn that into your head as a child. So that's where the guilt comes from now. So I hope that helps. Thank you for the contribution, and thank you for the story. I'm sorry I got a little testy with it. It just gets frustrating. And I'll explain why in a later video. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype chat, phone call, have a private video made, a Facebook chat, you'd like to sponsor a video for someone else, or just sponsor the channel in general, which is always great. You know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. And if you're still unclear, wait for the instructional video link to pop up at the end of this video on the screen to walk you through all of that. Please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Bye.